You guys know the world is changing. It's a different world. It's not our usual world, and things, they are changing. Everywhere you go, things are happening. It seems like we are either headed to a, which is, I'm sorry to say this, but it might sound a little bit cruel, but are we headed to a new kind of world where I don't know how I really don't know how to, but I'm trying my best to say it. But are we headed to a more dangerous world, more unwelcoming world, where people are drawing up boundaries? Countries stockpiling weapons, a new nuclear race, countries becoming more ambitious and not staying within their borders and maybe want to go into other countries and cross other borders just because they have, maybe they feel that they have weapons more than the neighboring countries. What sort of world are we transitioning to? Because there is transition happening. Something is happening. You can see and you can feel. Europe is becoming more in a disarray in a way. They're looking for some sort of a leadership in Europe. In North America, where we are, you see what's happening with elections. In Africa, you know what's happening in West Africa. And you can also know what's happening in Eastern Central Africa and all the way to Congo. In Asia, China is not sleeping. It's making moves all the way down to Australia. We are living in we're moving towards a nightmare scenario. That's how I feel. I have extra senses. You know, Spider-Man. You guys know Spider-Man. I'm not Spider-Man, but I'm just saying, you know Spider-Man. And whenever things happen or about to happen, or I see it moving towards something more dangerous, I get that spidey feeling. And I have this spidey feeling. One, we're going to have to be dealing with wars. Two, more diseases. Forget about COVID. The other day, they just discovered something here in China from something similar to COVID or coronavirus, but, you know, from bats. B-A-T. Not B-U-T-T. B-A-T. Bats. And so, and then I was talking about a world where there are no boundaries anymore. Nobody is respecting each other's boundaries. There is a lot of trade wars, threats of wars and trade wars happening. There is renaming of oceans. You know, maybe we might get, you know, Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean renamed to something else. But you guys get what I'm saying. You understand. And so my question to all of you is, especially my African audience that are listening to the show, do we stay or do we go back to Africa? I really want to hear from you guys. Do we stay or do we go back home? Seems like every day, yeah, we've been here in the West. Most of us have been here 20, 25 years. You know, we've built homes here, we've built businesses here, we have built community here. But you hear more and more of you're not welcome, you don't belong here. So what's next? Do we stay in the trenches and fight and speak out and vote? Is there a future for us here in the West? Is there a future for us in North America? Is there in USA? Is there a future for us in Canada? Is there a future for us in Europe, in the UKs and everywhere? Is that where Africans belong? Don't we have our own continent? Don't we have our own countries and boundaries? Don't we have they always say unlimited resources back home? Yes, there is challenges. There is a lot of challenges. There is, of course, wars, civil wars, never-ending civil wars in some parts of Africa. Over nothing, actually, over nothing, over what? I don't know why people should fight for. I don't understand why people should be in civil war for 30 plus years, almost close to 30 years. Just doesn't make sense. But I know it's getting better. It's not like 15 to 20 years ago. Things are changing. People are building cities. People are building towns. People are building communities. There's a rebuild in Africa. There's hope. There's rebuild in Africa. So for us in the diaspora, do we just stay in the West? Do we stay in UK? Do we stay in Sweden? Do we stay in Norway? Do we stay in Germany? Do we stay in Spain, in Portugal, in Italy, in Greece? Do we stay in Turkey? Do we stay in Dubai? Do we stay in the Middle East? Do we stay in United Arab Emirates? Yes, I know there is challenges back home too. We have a lot of challenges that we need to overcome. And we can change those. We can make those changes. We have seen few hopeful changes that are happening in West Africa, in Ghana, in Senegal, in Burkina Faso. There's a move. There is a move by our Gen Z as well in all of Africa. There is this awakening by our Gen Zs in Africa. They are seeing there is no hope on the other side. As you know, for the last 15 to 20 years, our Gen Zs have been moving across Africa and going to Europe and coming to North America. And now they're not wanted there anymore. They see that their peers, they see the people who are older generation than them have gone to Europe, have gone to North America, have gone to Canada, USA, everywhere, and they see the pushback that they're not wanted there anymore. They're not welcomed anymore. So I think the Gen Z in Africa are kind of waking up. There's a new awakening. There's a new movement toward let's fix our countries. Let's fix things that ail us. Let's fix issue of corruption. Let's fix issue of opportunity. Let's fix, and there's options, by the way, of, Africa can turn out to be like Burkina Faso, where you have and Mali, where you have strong men come in, take over. And we have the option of also democracy, where we participate in an election and elect the right people, not recycle the same people over and over again. In my show before, I've said, honestly, in my show before, I've said it, I have made it clear that we need a complete overhaul of system that has been there in Africa, because those systems have not worked. When you can argue, you can counter argue, you can say otherwise. But I just believe that the system that we've heard has not worked for us Africans. And that system has only benefited a few, and a few that keep recycling and coming back to power. And that process is through elections, and they call it democracy. Yeah. You know, one time, I remember in 92, 93, and 91, 92, 93, 94, there was a movement of, there was a transition in Africa of doing away with big men and coming to some sort of having a space for democracy or multi-partyism. And that was happening across Africa, by the way. But again, now we have experimented with democracy and multi-partyism. We've seen, I am not advocating for one-party system, by the way. I don't want you guys to misunderstand me. That's not my intention. But we are transitioning to a thing where we were, before we fought for multi-partyism and democracy in Africa, and we fought the big men that were leading Africa then, and there was change. Then we doubled, what do you call, we played around with the idea of democracy and elections and multi-party. It seems not to be working. So I don't know what's next. I don't know what the next transition is. Is it going to be a big man like Burkina Faso and Mali and many other countries? I don't know. But the Gen Z in Africa are going to define, moving forward, what Africa is going to look like. But are we wanted? Are we wanted in the West anymore? Because all you hear is anti-blackness. You hear anti-African rhetorics. You hear people being told you're not wanted. You see racism in Africa, in Europe. A black man cannot just drive through some white European country towns, get beat up because of the color of his skin. You're made uncomfortable. You know, I've seen so many bloggers and talk about their experiences in some of these European countries, some in Italy, some in and how they're treated there. You know, even in a simple thing as eating a meal in a restaurant, or even I've seen people in Germany, like a girl in Germany taking a bus, and she's sitting in the back. Nobody wants to go sit down with her. Wa alaikum salam. Abdi, welcome. We ain't going no, Uncle Ali. We ain't going nowhere, Haji, no disrespect. I guess we're staying, huh? I guess we're staying. But I've been having this internal conversation myself, honestly. You know, I've been having this internal conversation. Yes, my kids are born in the US, this great state of Minnesota. And for me, I've been here, I feel, for too long, honestly. And I don't know. Sometimes you have that conversation with yourself internally, and after that internal conversation, I wanna put it to you guys. I want you to be part of that conversation. Do we have a future in the West? Do we have a future in America? Do we have a future in Canada? Do we have a future in Europe? And is there a difference? What sort of future is there in Europe, and what sort of future is there in Canada and North America and Canada and the USA? Do we stick it out and fight? Not violence, though. I'm saying, do we stick it out and vote all the time and educate? And what's next? What is the future? You know, what's the future? What are we doing with? There is so many talented young Africans all over the world. Like I know for sure, 100% in North America, talented people. Even our black African brothers and sisters, who have been here before as African diasporans, right? There's so much talent in this USA, and I see movements of our black brothers and sisters. I see the movement transitioning from here to Ghana and many to Kenya and many other countries. You see people who are you know here that are not only diaspora but also our black brothers and sisters. I'm talking about our American brothers and sisters are making this transitioning back home. They're thinking, they're having this conversation. And part of my conversation came about because the other day I saw a senior ranking African American commander in chief just get fired because of the color of his skin. Just dismissed. There is a war against black people in North America, to be honest with you. Currently, there's a war with this Trump administration. There is a war going on against minorities, getting fired from jobs and if, getting intimidated, and that's what has brought about some of the questions that I'm asking as black people. I know we have internal issues, we have misunderstanding between our African American brothers and also our African diaspora. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of misunderstanding. It's human nature always. But I think we have a place for our African American brothers and sisters if it comes down to it. They have too much talent and too much money. And I think they can drive changes that we want in Africa. They can drive that change. Our African American brothers and sisters here, too much talent, too much wealth. I'm telling you. And I think they can push the change that we want in Africa. Why can't we be like the Chinese? $30 years ago, China was asking itself these questions. So we need to ask ourselves these questions. We need to. We need to have those internal conversations, man. And it's not that we're defeated. No, we're not defeated, man. We've seen worse. But we need to have those conversations. I don't have all the answers. But probably you do. And so you know where my conversation started from and where we are right now. And my question to you is, we go home or we stay? Can we make Africa home? All our talents and experience and seeing the world, having been away from Africa, go back home, can we bring the changes that Africa needs? That's a question I wanted to ask, to have those conversations with you, all of you. So what's next? What is the future like? I started my show by talking about the tension in this world right now. It's too much tension. There's too much uncertainty. issue of economy and finance and borders and wars, and they're coming. I feel it. You feel it. So I hope all of us are having this conversation internally with ourselves. It's okay. By the way, it's okay to talk to yourself sometimes. People might see you as crazy, but that's all right. It's okay to talk to yourself. We are living, or we are transitioning to a more dangerous world, and we need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. I need to be prepared. We need to be prepared. Because what's coming, it's not going to be fun. All right. I think my system is kind of freezing up on me, but I'm sure you guys are hearing my voice. Hopefully you can hear my voice. But my video, I think my computer has reached its capacity on streaming. I'm not using my phone, but I think I'm using my computer, and I think it's come to its capacity. But I am thinking you're hearing my voice. But it's been good. I mean, that's all I wanted to have that conversation with you guys. I hope we continue talking to ourselves and start thinking what is the future for people like you and I who are diasporans, and can we bring our African American brothers and sisters with us to that new world that we want to build together in Africa. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys again tomorrow.